We are like twins today, so white on red.
We are driving right now on an island in Sweden. I can't remember the name again.
Eldersur.
Eldersur, yeah. It's a very short island. We're driving the very, very fast, smart, hashtag-free Brabus. Brabus, which had 428 horsepower and it is extremely fast.
You will see our test drive on Notice Beam in the following weeks. Or maybe already, so I don't know where we publish, but yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's right now it's I kind of like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a surprise. I didn't expect I could like
No.
so much.
Bit expensive. More expensive than I thought it would be when I see the Swedish prices. But it's I could tell this is a kind of driver's car for what electric cars can do.
Yeah, if you like driving, you don't care about the range and consumption, it's a car for you. And also, if you think about car with the same performance and the same acceleration, because this is a 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds, there's nothing better at this price.
Oh, well, that's true.
So this is a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's the BYD seal, which is
also bigger.
It's bigger, but it's not the same class. Anyway, but...
And also not the same... So maybe the BYD seal is a little bit better in quality terms, but I don't know.
I mean, I drove the seal. There's a big bus coming. I drove the seal, and I mean, you can tell why it was cheap.
Okay.
It's not as plush as this one. This literally feels like driving a BMW in some way, and with the interior.
Yeah, and also if you think about the last Mercedes, is better done.
Yeah,
this car here, which is a little bit funny in that sense. And also I really like this roof. It's an anti-UV and also gives a lot of light inside the cabin. Let's go. But you will find our review. This is what happens to the Car World podcast. I'm Robin.
I'm Christian.
Oh, for the first time you answer got.
Maybe this time. I remember. Oh, it's also easier to drive here than last time we recorded was in downtown Copenhagen. There was a lot of traffic.
But now there's nothing here. So a really beautiful landscape in Sweden.
Yeah, it is really beautiful. We have to be aware of wild hawks.
Yeah.
That's the only animal I can see they are warning you about. We want to talk about the Shanghai Motor Show.
Yeah, since we are on a Chinese-German car, let's talk about Chinese. And also because Shanghai Motor Show presented the Smart 5 Brabus, so the biggest smart ever, a new Brabus, and fast,
powerful, whatever. But yeah.
So, but the topic of today is how this motor show, together with the Beijing Motor Show, the two motor shows are in alternative. So 1 year in Shanghai, 1 year in Beijing. So they became maybe the most important motor show in the world.
Yeah, I agree. And it's crazy because we only have to go like maybe let's say pre-corona. It was Germany, it was Frankfurt, it was IAA.
Then I saw Paris Motor Show.
Paris Motor Show was the biggest. Now we don't really. I feel like last year the biggest motor show. Sorry, this year for me in Europe was the one in Belgium.
Yeah, and Paris Motor Show last also was a little bit bigger, but not as it was in the past.
No, exactly. And you can tell the cars they're presenting at this motor show how the brands are choosing to go to Shanghai because that's the most important right now.
And also they have a big audience, and also
so
there's a lot of motives. That's why car makers stopped to present their cars in the European Motor Show. The first of all is they become really expensive.
Yeah.
In China they are expensive, but not so much like in Europe. There was a problem also, for example, the Geneva Motor Show. That's why they stopped. Also because of the Corona, they made a lot of mistakes in that sense.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it before. I remember 2 years ago, then when there was the e-car expo in Copenhagen. That show was bigger than the Paris Motor Show.
Very much.
Yeah, much bigger, and there was more people attending from Europe than Paris Motor Show. Last Paris Motor Show was starting to come back to what we remember. It was, but still not as it used to be.
Exactly. So in the last Paris Motor Show, they presented something new, especially French. So such like the Citroen C5 Aircross concept before they presented the series one in the
They had some. I were also the facelift version of the C4 has some Stellantis cars.
Yeah, and also Renault 4, and Dacia Bigster, and those kind of cars.
Yeah, there was some news, but when you see what Shanghai showed, even though they're not ready yet for Europe, like we have the new Nissan N7. I think, or was the N7 called?
Yeah, N7. It's called N7.
Yeah, which I believe is coming to Europe because we know Nissan going to bring back the Premier, but it's probably going to be electric car. And as we saw with Mazda,
Yeah,
they're gonna take a already made Chinese car and put an
in Europe.
and put the Nissan badge. I understand Nissan N7 is built on a previous car. There's some Chinese. I can't remember the name.
It's a Dongfeng car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that the Nissan N7 is coming to Europe as Premier, which in some ways is quite cool because it looks pretty nice.
Yeah. It compared to the last Nissan in Europe, I think it's much better. Yeah, we don't say so high. So, but maybe the new Micra is cool. Like the presenting in Denmark.
Yeah, we're going to see the new Micra in 2 weeks, I think. So we can post that. We're going to be one of the first people to see it. So it's going to be interesting. And we know it's built on the Renault 5 and it's probably going to have the same drivetrain. Yeah. But it's still exciting news that Nissan is coming back. And again, I really hope we get some of the Chinese Nissan to Europe.
Yeah, like exactly the same thing the Mazda does with the new 6E and the new CX-6E they presented in Shanghai. Here was SUV.
So we know that's coming to Europe. We know the new name. I can't remember it.
CX-6E.
Yeah.
6E.
That car is big.
It's a really big car. It's 4.8 meters, so it's very big SUV.
Yeah.
It's bigger. It's close to 660, like in dimension in that sense. But also, in Shanghai, they presented the new Lexus ES also for Europe.
It's also coming to Europe and probably Denmark as well, which that's interesting. And interesting is electric.
Is the first electric Lexus ES?
No, it's the ES, yeah.
Yes, it's both hybrid and electric. Maybe in Denmark will come only the electric version.
I think so.
No. And it's also a very beautiful design. It's based on a recent concept car from Lexus I saw in a Kenshiki forum in Brussels a couple of years ago. So it's cool. And also BYD presented a lot of news also for Europe, for example.
Yeah. So we can start with one of the most show. We know we're getting the Seagull, known as the Dolphin Surf. I don't know why I call it. I think Seagull sounds nicer.
Yeah, it's also funny. Maybe they call Dolphin Surf to say it's close to the dolphin, so it's the cheaper.
And I also have a feeling because the Seagull has been on the Chinese market for the last 2 years, so they may be hoping showing
something new.
Something hasn't been, because it's gonna be a bit old. I can't remember. It was quite small batteries, and
it's only 300 kilometers range in the bigger.
But it's probably gonna be the cheapest
electric car in Denmark, maybe, and also in Europe.
In Europe, yeah.
It's supposed to be under 15,000 euros, which is a really good price. At the moment, only the Leap Motor T03 has the same price, for example, and is a really bad car.
Yeah.
So.
And where else did they show? Showed the new Neo, the new
ET9, and also the Firefly.
The
first cheap car
coming, and that's coming to Europe.
Yeah.
We don't know about Denmark. We know the only Scandinavian country right now is Norway, which we probably gonna go to in July. Yeah.
You mean July or June?
June.
June.
June. I can't remember. One of those. So, yeah. And we're gonna have a look at it. Maybe drive it. Hopefully drive it. In Norway.
Yeah, maybe that is quite interesting. But apart from these cars that are coming also to Europe, they presented a lot of cars made in China for China, and I think the most interesting is the Audi in caps lock, made for China. It's the new brand made in joint venture between Audi and Shanghai Motor, which is the same that owns MG, to inform you. And the car is actually nice with design and also with good range, up to 700 kilometers range or maybe more. And yes, it's a project made from Volkswagen Group to China, together with 3 new concept cars from Volkswagen the ID Aura, ID something else.
I can't remember either, but I know exactly they showed a free concept. But about the Audi, which I was a bit jealous we're not getting to Europe, because it reminds me of a modern A8 in some way. Like it's the luxury,
Yeah,
and it's quite fast. It has some sort of a shooting brake style, if I remember.
yeah, and from the picture, it seems much better built than the Audi A6 e-tron, for example, which is only plastic everywhere in that car.
Yeah.
But if you think about why Shanghai and motor shows in China are still so important, because Shanghai is the biggest, but there are also a lot of motor shows in China, also in the other cities, for example, Shenzhen Motor Show, Guangzhou Motor Show, or whatever. I think it's because in Europe, the car culture is declining, and in China it's rising. That's also why, maybe.
Yeah.
And also they have, as we mentioned before, they have a lot of audience and a lot of people coming to visit the motor show, apart from the press. In Europe, if you've been in Paris, for example,
Yeah.
there's still people, but not so much people like it was in the past. So the people maybe in Europe are not so more interested in cars like they were in the past. I don't know what you think about.
Yeah, and there is some truth in that, because we are starting to see more people are more into not just using public transport, also using these sharing cars.
Yeah.
So I think the idea of having your own car and the lifestyle of having a car is disappearing. For some cars are starting to be more something to use, something you don't really care about, which is a shame.
And you can see also from because in Europe the car makers, they prefer to make their own events to present the car to the public, and they more and more they're making these events called lifestyles events. So the car is in the back, so they prefer to tell the car is another way. And so they, for example, if you think about Cupra, so they make the cars, and they're really good cars in that sense. So they're really good driving experience and whatever. But they also have their lifestyle collection with by sweatshirts, trousers.
Yeah.
So in Europe, maybe people think the car not. So they try to sell the car in another way, because people are not so interested in the car, because they see it as a pollution thing, or especially the youngs. So or maybe they can't afford. So people, in that sense, they're not more interested in the cars.
Yeah. It's a new era we have to get used to, but I don't. Hopefully, it's not gonna disappear forever. I still prefer, like, I do miss sometimes, like, now we drive electric. I miss the petrol engine in some way.
Yeah, I think the modern cars, apart from the electric cars, this is also a really funny car if you can think about it to drive. It's a really good pleasure driving this car. But in general, they're getting boring and boring.
Yeah.
Also, the petrol cars. If you think about Stellantis, they use the same motor in all the range. So if you drive a Opel Grandland and a Peugeot 3008, then not so much.
This is famous. And we're now getting the new Citroën Z5 Aircross, which
Uses the same exactly the same motor of the
it does. It has, I think it has one of the best class leading range, and it's extremely big
Yeah, it's
compared to the sister's car
yeah.
for some reason.
Well, it's because they want to use the big battery, so they need space to put the battery on, because they will have up to 100 kilowatt hours battery, so it's very big battery, like such like the Grandland and the Peugeot 3008, so the 5008. And also another problem of the cars in Europe, they became too much expensive.
They got too expensive. Yeah. And we also see, we don't really, a lot of these legacy brands are disappearing, because we're seeing the rising of Chinese cars.
No.
So no one, like, let's put an example, like, no one really want to drive the Citroën EC3. It looks awful. I haven't driven it. I heard it's like, it lost its joy. The small car used to be fun, but they're getting too expensive. Kia Picanto, we talked about that earlier. They, like, it starts from 150,000 in Denmark, and the most expensive one is 250,000.
Yeah.
So if they could go, you can get that for 100,000, and the expensive would be maybe 150,000.
Yeah, but for example, you cannot find anymore that kind of car like Picanto or the i10, for example, in some countries like Denmark or in the most of Europe. In China, they have also that kind of cars. So they are small, they're relatively cheap and also funny to drive. So for the youngs, so that those cars are that kind of car a young man or a young woman can afford and like think about in the sense. If you think also, for example, the Renault 5 is a really good car, is beautiful and also funny to drive, but it's way too expensive if you think.
Yeah, I haven't driven it, but yeah, it's way too expensive. What is nice though that Renault still kind of hold this with the Alpine, that you still can get these small hot hatches even though it's electric.
You mean the A290?
Yeah.
But it's very funny. You can find our test on the YouTube channel, but it's also very expensive. It's more than 300,000 Danish crowns. So that means more than 50,000 euros.
Yeah, it's not sold here yet because we don't. In Denmark, I think it's going to be too expensive. I have no idea how much it would be, but it would be expensive. The same with the Abarth 500 electric.
Yeah, the problem with the Abarth is not the price, it's all the rest. I think so.
It's what?
The problem of Abarth electric that you mean?
Yeah.
Is not only the price, but it's all the car.
Oh, the whole.
In general, yes. So the Alpine is very good car. Alpine A290 is actually what Abarth should have done.
Yeah.
Car.
We also have the Mini Cooper SE, which is, I think, is fast. It's nice. It feels posh. It's just too expensive.
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them are, apart from the Abarth, are beautiful to drive, are beautiful to see, good in driving, funny to drive, and they are electric, but so they are that the kind of car was made for young people, but now they have prices young people cannot afford.
Oh, nope. That's long gone. Those days, it's way too expensive.
And in China, they can solve this problem because they created a car culture first that they didn't have before. They began making really good cars in terms of quality, in terms of technology, and whatever. And also, they still think about also young people and people they like cars and they like driving without spending their whole bank account in buy this car. So this is why I think Shanghai Motor Show, together with the importance of China, the importance of Chinese economy, the importance of Chinese industry, and all these things become so important nowadays. In a sense. But it's time to ask, what do you think about?
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments.
And we will see you next week, where we are driving Nissan Qashqai. We're actually driving back to Copenhagen. So we are gonna spend a long time in the something as rare as a petrol car these days. I think it's gonna be our first petrol car.
No.
So look forward to that.
Thank you. Bye bye.